Yeah, here's today's Money Metals Minute, brought to you by MoneyMetals.com. Mining stocks drifted modestly lower Thursday afternoon, but gold stock investors still sitting on some gains for the year. As for gold itself, price is up 27% for the year, but down slightly for the week. Even though gold's gains this year are being dwarfed by those of miners, gold, the metal, has a good-looking long-term track record. Gold's outperformed major mining stocks over the last 10, 20, even 30 years with much less risk. Now here's a special report from Mike Gleason of Money Metals Exchange.
It is my privilege now to bring in Keith Neumeyer, founder and CEO of First Majestic Silver Corp., one of the top silver mining companies in the world. Keith has an extensive background in the resource and finance sectors and has also been an outspoken voice about concerns of distortions in the futures market's pricing for silver. We saw industrial users for certain precious metal, palladium, hoard large amounts of it. Gosh, I think it was around the turn of the century here when there was possible shortages in that metal. Electronics manufacturers, for instance, I mean, they're using a very small amount of silver in their products. The price of silver really doesn't affect them at all, but they're going to be darned if they're not going to be able to get it. Shortages begat shortages, as the saying goes, so that would be very interesting to watch play out, because these industrial users are not going to be putting themselves in a position where they can't be getting silver. Is that one dynamic you think we could see just based on the amount of silver that's out there and the amount of people that want it?
I'll throw in a couple of stats. One that I look at is the ratio of mining and the ratio where we're trading. We're mining on a global scale right now, silver to gold, 9 to 1. So for every 9 ounces of silver, we're mining 1 ounce of gold. We're currently trading in the low 60 ratio. So how do you trade at 60 to 1 or 65 to 1 when you're mining 9 to 1? That makes no sense to me. We've been in a deficit for multi-decades now. The above-ground supply of the metal is very, very low. It's actually at historic lows. Another interesting dynamic that I point to is the lack of silver companies. When I put First Majestic together, there was actually a handful of true silver companies. And I look at a company that calls itself a silver company as a company that has more than 50% of the revenues from the sale of silver. And legitimately, I think they could call themselves a silver company. Well, there's only one company in the world, a major company in the world, that has 50% of their revenues from silver, and it's First Majestic. We have about 70% of our revenues from the sale of silver. The rest being, a little bit of gold and a little bit of lead and a little bit of zinc. So the question I have is why, of the states, there's about 12 or 14 companies that call themselves silver companies. Why does these companies have less than 50% of the revenue from the sale of silver? And you can talk to many of the CEOs of these companies. I'm not going to name names, but they're going to tell you that the reason why they ended up becoming gold companies is because they could not find good silver mines. But that tells me that these silver mines are way rare. Silver is way rarer than people actually think it is. So I think we're going to see huge ratio collapse. I'm looking for a ratio closer to 9 to 1, where the actual mining ratio is, because that's where the financial number, that's where silver prices should be. It should be 9 to 1.
Yes, we saw the ratio, I guess, down to about 32 to 1 in 2011. The classic ratio, they say, is in the teens, 15, 16 to 1. But yeah, we may see it as low as 9 or 10 to 1. That would be very bullish for silver's future. I want to get your thoughts on what you expect as we move further into the second half of the year here. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world, a big election coming up this November that has a lot of people watching and perhaps concerned and nervous about the future and what's going to happen. How do you see the metals performing in that environment, and will we see follow through from the wonderful first half that we've had here in 2016?
Well, definitely there's going to be follow through. We're going to go into September, October, November here, which are generally pretty strong months for the precious metal and mining stocks, and I don't see any reason why that's going to be any different. We're going to go into the elections, and we're seeing Europe fall apart in front of our eyes, and we're seeing the political environment around the world become more destabilized. Quite honestly, the world is probably the least safest it's been probably in the last 2 or 3 decades, which is very unfortunate. unfortunately. And I think all that's going to contribute to higher gold and silver prices. But predicting where we're going to go is a little bit of a fool's game. And quite frankly, I've been wrong. I would have never predicted silver would have gone from $50 an ounce to $13.50, nor gold go from $1,900 to $10.50. I wish I had predicted that. We would have done some, few things differently. But, we're now back into a bull market. A few months ago, I predicted that silver would hit $20 by the end of the year, and that's me being conservative because, we've been beaten up so badly over the last 4 or 5 years, and sometimes being conservative is sometimes a better approach. And right now, I'm a little bit more comfortable. Obviously, we're obviously at $20 silver. We're at $13.50 gold currently. I think, quite honestly, there's a chance that we're going to see, $25 silver by the end of the year, and then we could likely see, $1,500 to $1,600 gold by the end of the year. Maybe those will prove to be too optimistic, but if it doesn't happen between now and the end of the year, it's going to happen sometime within the next 12 months.
That was Keith Neumeyer, CEO of First Majestic Silver, and Mike Gleason at moneymetals.com. Live prices at moneymetals.com show gold currently trading at $1,340.50 per ounce on the global market. Silver coming in at $19.92.